Hey guys, have another book review for you today. This time we are talking about Holy Cows and Hog Heaven, The Food Buyer's Guide to Farm-Friendly Food by Joel Salatin. Uh, Forward by Michael Pollan, which is kind of cool. So this is what the book looks like. It's pretty an entertaining cover. It's pretty awesome. And basically this is a book about for consumers for how they can buy farm friendly food and what they should look for when they're doing that. So let's get right into the contents here. There we go. Uh, Farm friendly producer is the first category. Second topic that he focuses on is farm friendly product. Okay. And the third one is farm friendly patron and the friendly policy. So, it's pretty cool. There's the topics are kind of corny sounding, but overall, it's a good book. The first chapter is trustworthy to maintain consistency. I think that's important as farmers and consumers. If you are going to be engaging in direct sales, you're going to need to have to trust each other, and he talks about that. Ask your farmer, or if you're a farmer, ask yourself, are you committed to an appropriate size? So that means your farm isn't outrageously huge, and you're not committed to, getting too big to where your principles are compromised. Is your farm neighbor friendly? That's chapter 3. Do you have a feedlot? If so, your farm's probably not very friendly. Open. Is your farm open for business? When can I go there? If you're a farmer dedicated to sustainable agriculture, you should probably have a transparent farm operation to where people can come to your farm at any point. And Joel advocates for that in this book as well, along with his other books. The next section is farm-friendly product. He talks about soils and fertility. You'd really be getting, you'd really be asking your farmer some good questions if you got into the questions or the topics that Joel raises in this subject. Chapter 6 is food is biological, and this is basically the argument that food is not a mechanized process, and pigs are not just pieces of protoplasm that we can manipulate to our liking as humans. So, there's that. Chapter 7 is an East versus West mentality, which is interesting. Joel Salatin likes to talk about the reductionist, linear, westernized thinking, and he brings into the mix the Eastern type of philosophy of thinking, which is basically looking at things as wholes, looking at ecosystems as a whole community, as opposed to just studying the earthworm, studying the importance of the earthworm in relationship to the soils, in relationship to the grass, which feeds the cows and the pigs. It's just a good explanation of different types of thinking. Then he talks about genetic engineering. Chances are, if you're a family farmer or sustainable farmer, or you're a consumer looking for a small family farmer, you're not going to have to worry about genetic engineering at all. If you really are concerned about it, ask your farmer about it, and they'll set the record straight. The next section is farm-friendly patron. So this is dedicated to the consumer. What should your behavior be when you're interacting with these farmers? And this is good because a lot of us don't know our farmers, so this is a good place to start. Be connected. He doesn't mention 21st century modes of being connected: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, internet, text messaging, cell phones, things like that, but they're very important. He's a big advocate in chapter 10 of getting reacquainted with the kitchen, so learning how to cook again. Not microwaving our meals, but cooking them. So you get to hear him rant about that a little bit, which is funny. Eating in sync with season. I think this is probably one of the single most important things in this book, and I'm still trying to get adjusted to this. Eating in sync with the seasons. That means you're not going to be eating spinach in the wintertime necessarily, unless your farmer is growing spinach in the hoop houses or greenhouses or something like that, or you have a hoop house or a greenhouse in your backyard or whatever it may be. So basically, just respect the seasons. Okay, so a good way you can do that is ask your farmer, what do you have an abundance of right now? If you ask your farmer that and you buy that, they will love you forever. And if a farmer is producing seasonally, which is what you should ask them, um, whatever product they have available, if it's produce, will be what's in season. Okay, so and with meat we have things like freezers, so you don't need to worry about meat as much, but still take it into consideration. The chicken, people will have fresh chicken in the spring and summer. So, chapter 12: Be appreciative and forgiving. This is farmers do make mistakes. Sometimes things can go wrong, just with any business, or just like life. So, chapter 12 is about that. Farm-friendly policy. This is where you get to hear some more of Joel Salatin's philosophies. Decentralization, bioregionalism, and globalism is chapter 13, which is just an interesting little addition to this book. It talks about where our food comes from and why you should be going local, which is good. Chapter 14, he talks about cheap food. This is really interesting. This along with, what did I say, getting acquainted with the kitchen. These are the two most important chapters in the book. Cheap food is not really cheap. There's a huge environmental cost. There's a huge social cost. There's an ecological cost. There's a human cost. And he goes into detail about that, about how cheap food is really bad for the planet, communities, and people to produce. Chapter 15, regulation. This is also really important so you can understand the farmer's mindset. Okay, as farmers and ranchers, we're business people, and the goal of a business is to make a profit. So he talks about how regulations impede that profit. So he talks about how in reality it only costs $4.50 to produce his bacon. Okay, but through regulation, he needs to sell it for $9 because there's an additional $4 of processing and regulation that needs to, or there's an additional $4 of processing that needs to take place so the regulators can be happy. And basically what it comes down to is that the Salatins are not allowed to cure their own meat or smoke their own meat to create bacon on their farm. They have to do it at a separate facility because that's the law. When in reality, you could be getting Joel's bacon for $3 to $4 a pound, $4.50, as opposed to $9. Preserving entrepreneurs, embryonic entrepreneurs, is chapter 16. He talks about how supporting your local family farmer, you're helping support entrepreneurs, which basically entrepreneurs are responsible for all of the wonderful things we enjoy in society, essentially. So he talks about the importance of that. And if you're not an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean you don't contribute important things to society, but where would we be without the Apple computer right now? And then 17 is food safety, and he kind of gets into food safety a little bit to give you guys an idea of what the ins and outs of that. So overall, Holy Cows in Hog Heaven by Joel Salatin, an informative book for mainly driven at consumers, but if you are a farmer, it would be wise of you to read this to know what some of your informed customers will be expecting from you. So I recommend that everyone check this out. Take care.